Thanks so much for joining me for May's Black Girl Math conversation. I'm with LaShonda Garrison, one of my new friend math educators who I got to meet on Twitter from the Twitter world. She's been in education for 13 plus years as a math teacher and math coach for a Department of Defense Education Activity, or DODEA. So I'm super excited to have LaShonda because I really wanted to talk with a teacher all around to help celebrate this month for Teacher Appreciation Week, which I just make into a month, especially after the year that we've had. So welcome,
Yeah.
LaShonda.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. You can tell I'm like stoked to be on here.
I am super excited that you said yes. So thank you so much.
Oh my
So I
gosh,
want
thank
to just
you.
jump into your story and tell me
Yes.
all about what's your math story. How did you decide to become a math teacher and coach?
Oh my goodness. All of those things were kind of by accident, actually. Let's see here. Whenever I was younger, I enjoyed math and pursued it. I wasn't always the best at it. I struggled at it, different points of going to school. And I remember in sixth grade, I remember seeing these students and they were leaving class early to go somewhere else. And I remember asking my teacher, like, where are those other kids going? They're like, oh, they're going to algebra. And I'm like, well, how come I'm not going? And I guess you had to qualify for it or something. So I remember asking her and saying, like, I want to be a part of that group. So I even remember at that age having to advocate for myself to even be a part of this math group and math space. So, taking a lot of math classes in high school, even in college, I considered majoring in mathematics. That ended up changing because I had some life circumstances that happened. And also, actually, after that, before that, I wanted to be a biochemist. I got accepted to LSU to study biochemistry, but all of those things kind of didn't pan out. So I ended up getting my degree in computers and minoring in education and doing my student teaching, and years later became a teacher. And my husband, his mother is a retired DODEA educator, and his dream was to have a family of educators who taught for DODEA. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. That's not what I want. That's not what I'm going to do. And lo and behold, I ended up teaching, loving it, and in the math world. And even being a math coach was an accident too. Just wanting to get involved with like a continuous school improvement. I was working with a partner. She was in the classroom, and I said, one of us really needs to be out of the classroom to help do this continuous school improvement. And a coaching position came open, and I didn't really know what that was going to entail. So I kind of stumbled into coaching and ended up being in that position for about 6 years. And that's kind of what opened my eyes to this whole big math world that I didn't know existed.
Wow, that's a lot of like stumbling into.
Yeah.
And talk about like maybe not so much stumbles of like many people talk about how, order they were called to be just because of their experiences. But already at an early age, it sounds like you advocated for yourself. Like, I want to go to algebra. How do I do that?
Yes, I had to do that a lot for so many things. Really advocate for myself I mean, I just have stories on stories of having to do that. So
And so I remember you telling me that you were a DODEA student. And then, so what do you like about, and became a DODEA educator. So what do you like about teaching and coaching math internationally?
It's so interesting because many people think because our schools are overseas that we're like an international school, but we're actually an American run school. We just happen to be run through the US government. Except for here in Bahrain, it's a little different. We do have international students, but at the other places that I've been or grown up in or taught in, they're American students who happen to be with their military service member, parent, or guardian. So we're an American public school that happens to be run by the US government to help support our military service members.
Wow. And did you notice, is there a difference or anything like, because even though it's American run, but you're in, as you said, Bahrain. So how is that, different from going to school in the States?
Oh, I would say very different in a lot of ways, especially here in Bahrain because there is a bigger international population. So you see so many students from different backgrounds. And I think so that would be the difference versus teaching in the States. I'm going to assume because I grew up in Dodia schools. I did attend American public schools in the States. They're very similar in a lot of ways, but I think it's you happen to have these cultures that are surrounding you, even though you're kind of on these military bases. And if you choose to, you could totally live this American lifestyle. I've seen many parents do it, like not leave the base, do everything on base for 2 years, not leave, and then go back to the States. Some people do that. But for me and my family, like we chose to embrace the different cultures for the different countries. So you have the opportunity to embrace and learn about different cultures that maybe you wouldn't have the accessibility like you would like if you were in the United States. I couldn't just leave my door and be in southern Spain and go to Seville and like we can go do that on a weekend. So that's maybe kind of the difference. So even though it's a American military environment, in our backyard is this whole different world and culture and experiences that you can choose to tap into if you want.
Okay, thanks. So you've been a student and educator as part of Dodia. And you also, what I learned about you is that you were named Dodia State Teacher of the Year. It sounds like a couple of times. So tell me, what has that meant for you?
Oh gosh. Okay. So last May, that's when they make the announcement on who the next state teacher of the year will be. And then your year starts the following January. So it came out multiple times. So some people said, "Did you get it again?" I'm like, no, 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 no. My year actually started this January. So I'm the 2021 Dodia State Teacher of the Year. And what does it mean to me? Gosh, it means, I know, thank you. You know, it means many things. I'm so excited and so honored to serve our military connected students and families. I'm so excited to serve our educators who support our military connected students and families. So it's just an honor, and I'm just proud to be a part of a system that gets to work in this like niche space. And it means a lot, especially being growing up as a military child, being a military spouse, raising military connected children. So to be able to kind of like be the face of that for a year is exciting.
Awesome. And you said you're the face of it. And so what does being State Teacher of the Year, or what does it entail? I should ask.
Oh gosh, it entails like so many different things. And I know it's a little different because of COVID. I know that usually there would be a lot of traveling, going back to the States, connecting with the other state teachers of the years, the others, the 2021s who are amazing. They're in, like, we're in a cohort. So a lot of it is connecting with them. It's a lot of the big things that we represent as being state teachers of the year is equity and being able to bring this lens of military connected students and talking about equity and access for that space has been very powerful. It's I don't know, like it's just been very busy. I get a sabbatical, so I'm almost done with my semester of a sabbatical. I have a sabbatical project. There are lots of conferences and also talking with leadership and creating programs and presenting on my different platforms. I kind of have a three-leg platform that I talk to different people about and share with and present on. So that's what I can give and what I can offer for my platform in this space of being a state teacher of the year.
All right. And you mentioned a three-leg platform. And I know you recently presented on Rich Task at NCTM and wrote
Yes.
a blog for Black Women Rock Math about your passion for leadership storytelling. So what are your what's your three-leg platform? And then also, how do you, or yeah, let me start there. What's your three-leg platform?
I know. Most people like have
So what?
one, but I feel like mine go together very well. So the first part is being a trauma informed and resilient educator. I feel like that mindset is very important. Excuse me. I feel like that we needed that before COVID, but now during and hopefully after COVID, that we have this mindset on how we see our colleagues and students and how we interact with them with a mindset of curiosity, with a strength-based mindset, of helping those around us heal from these adverse experiences that we all experience one way or another. There's adversity in this world, like that's true, but there's also healing. There's a potential to heal from these different experiences. And so just empowering our educators and being there for our students and just seeing them in a way where we don't see them as their hurts and pains, but we empower them and give them a space to just really tap into their strengths. And so that's a very big passion for me. And then right around that, the other leg of this platform is being culturally responsive. And for me, being trauma informed, being culturally responsive is an equitable practice of being trauma informed and resilient focused. That is one part out of other equitable practices you can use under that trauma informed, resilient focused umbrella that you can support your students. And through that cultural responsiveness is storytelling and identity work. And I say three prong because whenever I set up an environment that's trauma informed and resilient focused, I'm able to see my stories. I'm able to see my students' stories and see them for who they are. And I can use culturally responsive practices to tap into that because storytelling is a culturally responsive practice. It's an old practice that many different cultures have used for generations to pass down traditions and wisdom and different things. So they all go together to support that whole child. And then based off of the brain science, all of those things have shown to be beneficial with helping students learn. You know, when you're trauma informed and resilient focused, you're trying to keep that thinking brain on. You're trying to reteach and give skills so that thinking brain can stay on. So we don't have a child who sees math on the board and they want to fight, flight, or flee. Yes, when they're in a safe classroom environment that you have to establish. We want to use culturally responsive practices like storytelling because we were built to learn through stories. And because of those mirror neurons, we're better able to connect and engage and remember. Those are all metacognitive strategies. So even with the research behind those three things, the brain research, those are all very powerful practices we can use to support our students in learning, and in particular mathematics. So that's the three prong like bit that I love to use. That's part of my platform to support students in having an equitable and just learning experiences.
And so important. So I'm glad you shared that and how it supports our students. Like you said, we want the thinking brain on. And so many times in the classrooms, it is fight, flight, or appease, or run in any direction because of a lot of times how our students are treated, and many times how we're treated in our school systems and in our
Most
classrooms.
definitely. Yes. So if I can be aware of that and teach my students about the brain, about their brain, teach my students about those emotional sensations when things happen, having them become emotionally aware because of that trauma informed hat, and just recognizing that we all go through things. How do we support each other? And how do we encourage each other? And how do we help one another heal? That's just my heart is just like desperate for that and for that message to get out there. So that's the three parts to that.
Absolutely. One of the classes that I took most recently around trauma and also just healing and in racial healing is just that solidarity is healing. It has to be done in community. It can't be
Yes,
done separately.
most definitely.
So what is and thinking about what you're able to share with teachers in your either in Dodia or across at this point across the world, what is maybe one or two takeaways for an educator to be trauma-informed, culture responsive, and use rich task or use storytelling to support their students? So how can, yeah, I'll stop there.
Okay, so let's see, with two things, especially with the rich identity tasks
Okay.
and how that came about. The first thing is you have to stay curious about your students. You need to be like, I wonder what happened. Or I wonder, like I don't need to know exactly the story per se, but I need to create a classroom environment where that child feels safe to share whatever story they want to share and to be heard. But I have to have a curious mindset about that child and being willing to see it and hear it. So I'm thinking for sure, stay curious, be curious, and be open to what this child may have to offer. And I think that that's just a great place to start. I would say those two things first and foremost, being open and staying curious. And there are plenty of other things we can add on top of that. But I even think that's sometimes can be a hard shift for educators, especially when we're dealing with pacing guides and we're dealing with state requirements, like how do we weave those human aspects of teaching in there when there is a lot of pressure? So I think those two, I would say, would be a great place to start.
Thanks, LaShonda.
Thank
So one of my
you.
final questions is, as an educator, and what has been, I don't even think difficult is the word that would describe it, but difficult, emotional year where many people have not felt appreciated, honored, valued as educators. What has been something that has made you feel that you are appreciated and celebrated this year?
Wow. I think just thank you. Just thank you. I think also I see you.
Mm,
One of my friends recently sent me a message and it just touched my heart so much. And she said, I see you. I see what you're doing. I see what you're trying to do. I see where your heart is. Like, I see you. And it just stirred me up like, wow, okay. Like that made me feel more appreciated and validated than anything else. Just getting that message and just someone saying, I see you. So I think, thank you. And I see you. And I think one of the things I've been talking about a lot is us truly raising our level of care
mm,
versus like being apathetic and saying we care, but there aren't actions that show that you're actually caring for someone. And I think caring for someone is really looking someone in the eyes and saying, I see you. I see what you're doing. I don't think it takes much, right? To tell a teacher, I see that you did this and I'm appreciative. Man, that would go so far. I mean, and I think that's what educators I believe, want to hear and feel cared for in that way. They want to be seen, they want to be appreciated, they want to know that their existence matters and that their existence makes a difference. So I think that's what I would say, to feel appreciated.
oh my God. Thank you so, so much, because I see you, and when I saw your blog, and I think ours appeared like within a week of each other. Or,
Yes.
yeah, like a few weeks of each other. I was like, wait, that's the person, because we got connected through a
Like a year
mutual
before
friend.
that. And we never touched base. I'm like, wait, I know that name. Hold on a second.
We gotta connect. So I am so appreciative that I saw you, and I was like, yay! And then everything that you've been able to share when we've been able to connect a couple times a month. And so thank you so much for joining me in this conversation and sharing what you're doing for teachers and also for your students. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome, Veda. And I appreciate you. And I thank you. And I see you too.
Thanks, LaShonda.
You're welcome. Thank you.